In 1781, 44 people walked 9 miles. And where did they stop, Jim? They stopped on what would be the Los Angeles River because they needed water. And water is what made the city grow.
City leaders credit the Los Angeles Aqueduct, completed in 1913, for defining the modern era of Los Angeles and with the growth and prosperity of Southern California.
The connection of the Transcontinental Railroad with the spur that connected Los Angeles to the Transcontinental Railroad and the opening of this aqueduct. And were it not for those two things, we would continue to be a tiny little backwater village south of San Francisco.
But history had other plans for Los Angeles. Today, the LADWP serves 600 million gallons of drinking water every single day to a population of over 4 million people. But thanks to conservation, stormwater capture, water recycling, and groundwater cleanup, aqueduct water is less than half of our water supply today.
Water is our history, but it is also our future, which is why we as a council and as a city are committed to responsible stewardship of this precious resource.
While William Mulholland famously said back in 1913 of the water running down the aqueduct, "There it is, take it." His great-granddaughter, who was on hand in council chambers for the centennial celebration, says she sees this milestone as a way to continue educating the public about this most precious resource.
To remind people from where the water comes and the costs to bring it, treat it, and deliver it, and the tremendous responsibility to conserve and never waste it.
The Los Angeles Aqueduct Centennial, with the theme Our Legacy, Our Future, includes events, activities, and a public awareness campaign. There will also be a celebration on November 5th to mark 100 years to the day when a crowd of 40,000 gathered at the northeast end of the San Fernando Valley to witness the first flow of water down the Cascades. Revitalization efforts continue in downtown Los Angeles as officials begin construction on a new apartment complex in hopes of bringing more people to downtown. Yana Kay has more.
This backhoe is about to dig into the dirt, making way for a new high-rise residential tower in the Bunker Hill area of downtown Los Angeles. Related California, the developers of the site, along with city and county officials, broke ground recently on what will be the first residential building of the developer's Grand Avenue project.
Today's ceremony marks a continuation of the journey to a more lively and a more vital downtown.
The tower, which will be built as a rectangular prism accentuated by walls of glass and windows, is located at 225 North Grand Avenue between 2nd and 3rd Streets, across from Metro's planned station and next door to the Broad, a new museum that's under construction.
There is no more exciting place to be than downtown LA.
It took about 8 years and the collaborative efforts of the city and county to get to this groundbreaking.
I really feel that we can be part of something that's transformational on Bunker Hill. And that's, at the end of the day, going to be the test of this project. And I think it will pass the test.
The 19-story apartment tower will cost $120 million to build, will have 271 apartments, and will feature 5,000 square feet of restaurant space. Out of the 271 apartments, 20% will be reserved for low-income families. Officials hope the tower will reflect the city's diversity and will serve as part of a revitalized and vibrant downtown. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
The tower is scheduled to be completed in 2014 and will create more than 400 jobs. Construction is also underway in the valley for housing to help the homeless population there. It's a project that takes on personal meaning for one council member who's going public about a family member whom he hopes might be able to take advantage of the services. Gil Reyes reports.
Councilman Richard Alarcon has broken ground on affordable housing projects in the past, but this one's different than most. It's being built specifically for homeless adults with mental illness, people like his son.
My son is homeless in the San Fernando Valley. He's diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he refuses services. I don't know whether he's taking his meds or not, because I see him once every few months, and only when I'm passing by a Del Taco or you never know where he's going to pop up. It is the greatest challenge in my life to watch my son struggle. And so I know that these services are necessary.
The councilman encouraging projects like Day Street Apartments. It'll sit on what's now a vacant lot at 7639 Day Street in Sunderland, Tujunga. It will have 46 units and, yes, free mental health counseling on site. LA Family Housing makes it possible. In the past year, it's housed several formerly homeless people with mental illness at its new Palo Verde complex in Sun Valley.
And they were able to do that because of our partnerships with the community, because of our service relationships.
So today we welcome this as a tremendously needed service in the Sunderland Tujunga community.
Many of the area's homeless have set up encampments at nearby Sunderland Park. The problem worsens from the lack of support services in Sunderland Tujunga. Despite some objection to the new housing from the neighborhood, Councilman Alarcon hopes it will help people like his son. Expected completion date early next year. In Sunderland Tujunga, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The $15 million complex will also have free job placement services on site. A friendly game of basketball is always fun, but there's one basketball game that's teaching kids a whole lot about this nation's civil rights movement and how far we've come. Yana Kay explains.
These kids are playing some hoops as part of the MLK Games, a yearly basketball event put on by the Westwood Recreation Center to honor civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr.
I think everyone should be equal because it doesn't matter what color your skin is, it just matters how you act.
Many parents came to support their kids on the court and say basketball is a great way to celebrate a true leader.
Martin Luther King had a dream and it came true, and it came true for everybody in the world. The freedom is just priceless.
Now in its fourth year, the goal of the MLK Games is to inspire friendship among kids by playing basketball. The kids, who come from 18 different parks programs in the city, are separated into teams and play what is known as friendship games.
Oh, they love it. You know, they go around after the game, they wear their T-shirts around. They're really proud to be a part of the program.
The basketball program also teaches kids about the importance of having a dream and going for it.
That you can be somebody if you have a dream. You gotta have a dream. If you don't have a dream, you can't get to nowhere unless you dream.
I feel happy because if Martin Luther King Jr. didn't do that, we would have to sit at the end of the bus.
A friendly game of basketball as the actions of Martin Luther King Jr. continue to inspire decades after his death. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Century City will soon see a whole new restaurant and shopping district. Residents in one community being urged to join a neighborhood watch, and shelter animals need foster homes. How you can help. These stories and more in City Beat. The Los Angeles City Council has greenlit a $2 billion redevelopment project in Century City. The Century Plaza Hotel will serve as the cornerstone for the 1.5 million square foot mixed-use project. The plan includes restoration of the famed hotel at the intersection of Avenue of the Stars and Constellation Boulevard, as well as the construction of two 46-story residential towers, a plaza with shops and restaurants, and 2 acres of open space with fountains and walkways. Construction is scheduled to begin next year. The LA City Council unanimously approved interim general manager of the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, Gracie Liu, to be the permanent general manager.
I am trained in nonviolent communication and in transformational mediation, which I think comes in handy when I work with not only within the city but also with our neighbor councils.
Councilman Bernard Parks had high praise for Liu prior to the vote.
She probably ran, along with other city departments, the best elections that we've had in the history of neighbor councils.
Liu, who has a law degree, has also worked in the field of business entertainment and in the nonprofit sector, specifically working with survivors of domestic violence. The holidays may be over, but theft from vehicles continues to be a big problem in some neighborhoods like Van Nuys. This has prompted the Los Angeles Police Department to advise residents there to join a neighborhood watch group in an attempt to prevent residential burglaries and burglaries from vehicles. Police say by getting to know your neighbors, you will have a better understanding of who and what vehicles belong in the neighborhood and will be able to report suspicious people or vehicles, helping police to stop crimes before they happen. For more information on starting or joining a neighborhood watch in Van Nuys, call the Van Nuys Community Relations Office at 818-374-9409. LA Animal Services needs people willing to offer a foster home to kittens and puppies until they are 8 to 10 weeks old and can be returned to the shelter to be spayed or neutered before being placed in permanent, loving homes. The application to be a pet foster parent takes up to several weeks to process, so the department is encouraging you to sign up now. Animal Services officials say foster care for newborn kittens and puppies greatly ensures their survival rate, as well as their development and health throughout their lives. Kittens and puppies aren't the only ones, though, who need foster care either. To find out more about becoming a foster family for shelter animals, go to laanimalservices.com. Other animals that need foster care include healthy adult animals that just need a break from the shelter, or sick animals that need extra TLC, or even reptiles. Well, we have been reporting on the city's progress in its promise to build 50 new parks here in the city. We take you now to South Los Angeles for the recent unveiling of the new 76th Street Park. This ribbon cutting isn't the first, and it won't be the last. In fact, it was the fifth in what will be a total of 50 ribbon cuttings to unveil new parks in the city of Los Angeles as part of the city's promise to build 50 new parks in the next several years.
This was one of our highest priority locations, so it's one of the first we've gotten done. By next July 1, we'll have 20 parks done and open to the public, and within about a year and a half after that, we'll have over 50 new parks added to the parks that we have in the city of Los Angeles.
To say that the city is in the midst of a parks renaissance is no exaggeration. In fact, the city built dozens of parks in the past few years outside the 50 Parks initiative.
You add that to the 37 parks, there are 38 parks we've opened in the last few years. You'll find in the last 8 years or so, we will have added more than 20% of the number of parks that we've had in this city in the whole 120-year history of the Parks Department.
This commitment to build parks is a way to give formerly blighted and concrete-lined neighborhoods the green space residents have long asked for themselves and for their children. And here in South LA, the need is greater than ever.
Unfortunately, we lead the league in childhood obesity. We also lead the league in asthma, diabetes, a variety of things that all seem to circulate around diet and food-driven kinds of diseases.
But a recent report shows that childhood obesity in Los Angeles is dropping, and city leaders say it's no coincidence. With the opening of each new park, the hope is the children of Los Angeles will skip, slide, and play their way into a healthier lifestyle. There are currently around 430 parks in the city of Los Angeles. And we take you to two more park projects aimed at keeping kids of all abilities healthy and active. Here's Rasha Goel.
It's all about parks. This groundbreaking of a park specifically for kids 5 years old and younger at the Richie Valens Recreation Center is just the beginning. The plan calls for creating 39 more tot parks and trails throughout LA County.
What we're doing here is creating a sustainable environment, a sustainable change for our communities to promote physical activity and healthy living.
First 5 LA, whose mission is to oversee the health and safety of children, is working with the LA Department of Recreation and Parks and Shane's Inspiration, a nonprofit group promoting the unity of children of all abilities, to create some of the parks. Another playground being enhanced under the program is the Jamie Beth Slavin Memorial Park in North Hollywood.
This playground was named in honor of a young girl who passed away of Reyes syndrome. Her parents donated this playground equipment.
It will now receive a facelift and be designed with equipment to address the needs of childhood obesity and children living with disabilities.
What these play areas provide is open, accessible, welcoming play facilities for children of all ability levels.
According to officials, lower physical activity is consistently associated with obesity.
This is an opportunity for children to come out of their homes and get involved in exercise and try to reduce the weight.
By promoting physical activity, First 5 LA hopes to see more children maintain a healthy weight and lifestyle. From Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
First 5 LA has donated $12 million for new construction and revitalization of parks and play spaces in LA County. In this week's list of things to do, researching your genealogy, free family tours at one museum, and a morning hike at Griffith Park. We're only a few weeks into the new year, and that means there's more than 11 months to keep your New Year's resolution to stay active. So why not join some new friends and Ranger Ernie Ibarra at Griffith Park on a 5-mile intermediate level hike on Saturday, February 2nd to Bronson Caves. There will be a very steep climb on the way back from the caves. Meet at the Griffith Observatory parking lot next to the restrooms at 8 a.m. The observatory is located at 2800 East Observatory Avenue. You can find out more details by going to facebook.com/Ranger Ernie. Get tips for a fun family museum visit, explore artworks that are popular with children, and engage in playful observation and discussion in Spanish and English. Whether the art is miniature cars zooming through a futuristic city, a mummy from ancient Egypt, a 340-ton boulder that you can walk under, or animal avatars from ancient Mexico, your family will learn about and experience the best the museum has to offer at LACMA's free family tours. The next one will be held on Saturday, February 2nd at 11 a.m. LACMA is located at 5905 Wilshire Boulevard. The works of art change weekly. The tours are led by museum educators. For more information, go to lacma.org. And have you always been curious about your family's roots? Why not get started on your family's genealogy research at the Central Library downtown? There will be a genealogy librarian available to answer in-person questions at the History and Genealogy Department reference desk on Monday, February 4th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a lunch break from 12:30 to 1:30. In fact, the genealogy librarian is available during those hours on most Mondays and Saturdays. The Central Library is located at 630 West 5th Street downtown. For more info, go to lapl.org. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. The Campo de Cahuenga Historical Memorial in the Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks held a celebration recently marking the anniversary of the Articles of Capitulation signing, a contract which ended the war between the United States and Mexico. Yana Kay takes us to the festivities.
The firing of this wartime cannon is the highlight of this Campo de Cahuenga celebration, held at the historical location in North Hollywood.
When it went off, I saw like a huge amount of smoke. When I saw the cannon shoot out, there was like a bunch of fire, and me and Daniel thought we were going to die, so we were over there.
These fiesta dancers and this reenactment are also part of the festivities, giving folks a glimpse into California's past. It's the 63rd celebration of the Articles of Capitulation, signed here by Mexico and the United States in 1847, ending the war between the two countries.
Article 5, that in virtue of the aforesaid articles, equal rights and privileges are vouchsafed to every citizen of California.
Those who put on the annual event say this site is significant for several reasons. One being that in 1790, the Pueblo was one of the first buildings to have finished plaster and a red tile roof.
Not only that, the size of the building and the width of the walls suggest that it could have been the first two-story building in California.
The site also served as a Union encampment during the Civil War, one of the many positions held by Union soldiers in Los Angeles to protect California's gold supply from the Confederate Army. Councilmember Tom LaBonge served as the Grand Marshal of the event.
The organization of the Campo de Cahuenga, the historic aspect is so important as we remember our past.
And keeping those memories alive is what these events are all about. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
The Campo de Cahuenga site is open and available for tours. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
वर्तमान शहर में सर्वत्र लॉस एंजलिस के नागरिकों की मदद करने के लिए प्रत्येक पृष्ठभूमि और व्यवसाय से संबंध रखने वाले पुरुष और महिलाएं साथ में मिलकर स्वेच्छा से काम कर रहे हैं। वे मतदान कर्मी है। वे चुनाव के दिन मतपत्र वितरित करके प्रश्नों के उत्तर देकर और मतदान की शुरुआत और उसका समापन कराकर मतदाताओं की सहायता करते हैं। वे इसे पैसे के लिए नहीं करते हैं, नहीं, बल्कि दूसरों की मदद करने के लिए ऐसा करते हैं। एक सम्भ्रांत टीम का हिस्सा मतदान कर्मी अगला अमेरिकी नायक बने।
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Los Angeles City Council, Van Nuys City Hall. First day of February. I want to welcome everyone here. Mr. Miller, thank you to the CLA police staff, and I know all members are filing in at this time. Stand by for the meeting. Thank you. Sergeants, if you could call the offices. Mr. Murphy, good to see you this morning. Thank you. Call me Tom, that's all right. It's not on TV. You can do anything you want now. Koretz is 4 minutes away. President of the City Council, Herb Wesson, 10th District. All right, Mr. Wesson.
morning. It is February 1st, 2013. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. Madam Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Alarcon, Buscaino, Ingleter, Garcetti, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Weston. 10 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Garcetti moves, Buscaino seconds. Next.
Committed to resolutions for approval.
Mr. Parks moves, Mr. Krikorian seconds. That brings us where?
Mr. President, do you wish to run through the agenda?
Let us do that. Okay, let's go through the first section.
Item 1, Arlene's notes for public hearing. The Department of Building and Safety reports that items 1L, M, and N may be received and filed in as much as the liens have been paid.
Okay, so without objection.
Also, the department requests to continue items, the remaining items, A through K and O through T, to March 5th.
Without objection. Okay, next.
Items 2 through 17 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us. Do we have cards?
Cards on items 3, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17.
Okay, specials.
Oh, and are there cards?
Go right ahead.
And there's also cards on item 1.
I thought we continued item 1.
For the receive and file items, the city attorney has opined that we need to have city, read the cards, hear the cards for item 1 because they're receive and file items.
Okay, well, let's just see if members, any specials. Okay, let's vote on the remaining items. If you could open the roll, Madam Clerk. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, that brings us where, Madam Clerk?
That takes council to items called special or general public comment.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 3 general public comment cards, and then we'll go through the actual items. So Herbert Thompson, I thought I saw him earlier. Herbert, followed by Sean Murphy, followed by Candido Morez. Come on, guys. You know where the podium is. Good to see you, Mr. Thompson.
Good to see you, too. Good morning, LA City Council board members. My name is Herbert Thompson, and I'm a crime victims' rights advocate. I'm here today looking for recognition from our organization in the form of a letter. Mr. President, if any ways you could assist me with this, I'll give you more in-depth details on our programs and what it consists of.
Okay, I'll have one of my guys talk to you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Murphy.
Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to Van Nuys. I wish we could have city council meeting every day. Satakoy is being worked on as I speak. Thank you, Thank you, Councilman, for fixing Satakoy. They're going to repave it tomorrow. They've been working on it for this week. Also, I want to adjourn in memory of my father. That's about it. Thank you.
Sorry to hear about your dad, Sean.
Yeah. 40 years ago, he passed away.
Okay. Candido Morez. I know I saw Candido. John Walsh. Maybe we have to go down to... No, John is here. Mr. Walsh. Go on, John.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighland.org. Read Jack Humphreyville's article about Herb Wesson for sale. The half-cent sales tax is about to go down to defeat. Just the way the farmer's field turned out to be a figment of your imagination. The time has run out. No NFL team wants to come here. You spent millions of dollars trying to induce them. It didn't happen. But today is a very special day. It is the 1-year anniversary of the death of the Community Redevelopment Agency. And as you know, 1 year ago, on February 1st, we appeared before this body and we celebrated Drop Dead CRA Day. It's gone. I went to my first meeting of the CRA in 1971 and saw a black man get up in Berkeley and say, "You've destroyed my home, you've destroyed my family, and now you're taking my house." And his wife was crying. And I said to myself, and this was a man in his 50s in 1971, he's probably dead now. I said, we're going to take this agency out. And I outlived the CRA, and we outlived the CRA. And every year on February 1st, we celebrate Drop Dead CRA Day. And I want to thank Governor Brown for killing it and keeping it dead. Dead here, dead in West Hollywood, dead in Oakland, dead in Berkeley, dead every place. All we have left is their multi-billion-dollar debt that we have to pay off. The CRA can't redevelop anything was garbage. And that's why today, this is the kickoff of the Drop Dead CRA February month, where we will be celebrating the death of the CRA all over this state. And there are other CRA schemes in other states. You're not taking our property without by eminent domain, and you're not raiding the school tax and the county state property tax ever again. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. Candido?
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. Mr. Rosenthal, it's a pleasure and honor to see you here, sir. And again, to have visited in your council and be treated like I'm a real constituent of yours. You are. I am. Thank you, sir. And that's why, Mr. President, as a proud resident of the 12th District, I'm honored to be represented by Mitch Englinger. And I've had the privilege of working from the 1st District to the 15th District, and that's why it saddens me that when we were here in October, we came to you and we stated that we would be bringing signatures for a hero in our community in December. We came here in December. Not only did we bring those signatures of 1,350 signatures, we brought the hero, Miss Benavides, and we were promised that something would be done, that her name would be submitted to Parks for a possible having her name placed on a building. We haven't heard. We've made calls and nothing happens. Now, I could come here and criticize that council office, but if I was to criticize them, I would be criticizing all of you. And that would be a mistake, because I have, from the 1st District to the 15th District, I've had great relationships, and to disrespect this body would be harmful, so I won't do that. So, again, I hope we'll pray for them, and hopefully they will answer the request we made for them. Last week, finally, we were at a mayor candidates, and Mr. Garcetti, Ms. Perry, and to all of you, this is exciting, because as I sat there, I saw the diversity and the commitment, and I thought, wow, we're going to have a great 8 years coming up. And so, and Ms. Gruhl, to all of you, I hope that we hear from the bottom of your hearts, and like in the movie Braveheart, the character of Mel Gibson, he talks to the future Scottish president, or king, and he says, if you will unite us, we can do anything. And so I tell you, Mr. Garcetti, Ms. Perry, and all the candidates, if you unite this city, the greatest city in the greatest country in the world, everything is possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move to item 1. Before I do that, I want to thank Mr. Rosendahl for being here today. Bill, you're saving our bacon. Item 1, I have a card, I believe, Sean and John Walsh.
Item 1, I'm against all liens. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or go to Ron KLA or Mayor Sam or the front page online. This concerns code violations. Now, you're doing a very good job on code violations now. Mayor Hahn, when he came in, set a goal that every single housing unit in this city would be inspected, and he met that goal. It was a great accomplishment. They came into my apartment, and they made the landlord fix a couple of things that I didn't even bother to the landlord with. But they came in, and they did that job. They did it on every single unit in this city. We've got to do that again, because there are corrupt landlords, and you've caught a number of them here. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walsh. Don't go far. We're going to go to item 3 next. Okay, no speakers on the queue where it relates to this item. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, item 3 called special. Mr. Walsh, John Walsh, item 3.
John Walsh, for identification purposes, anybody but Garcetti for mayor. We're growing by leaps and bounds. Steven Spielberg joined that yesterday. This concerns business improvement districts. Most of you do not live in business improvement districts. What it is that city services no longer provided by the city are provided. The landowners have to pay a tax. Now, in some of them, as in the Hollywood BID, the building apartment owners have to pay the tax. So when your rent is raised, the reason it is raised is because of a formula that includes the business improvement tax if you live in such a district. Now, I was very skeptical of the BID. They're the ones with the slightly different uniforms. They usually don't have guns, and most of them are former LAPD. But when the building at Yucca and Argyle across the street got filled with junkies, and I went to the LAPD 5, 10, 15 times, and they didn't do a damn thing, I went to the BID, and this one cop went over there and squeezed the captain by you-know-what, and the next day, every damn junkie was out of my neighborhood. Thanks to the BID, and no thanks to the corrupt Hollywood Division LAPD. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, thank you. So let's prepare to vote on that item. I'm sorry, Candido.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Walsh is a very dear friend of mine. I respect him tremendously. But I haven't decided who I'm going to vote for. But I know Mr. Garcetti, based on what I've seen and what I've heard and what I know, you're a fine candidate. You belong there. And all I can say is God bless you and hope that the best person wins, sir.
Mr. President, that wasn't regarding item 3.
Okay, now he's going to get a... All righty, so now let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, that brings us to item, is it 14? Or item 12? Sean Murphy and Candido?
I pass, sir.
Okay.
Yes, item 12 is a good item. I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers on the queue. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, now I'm going to go back to general public comment and take a couple of cards. Rick Nightingale and Quazek, please come forward, followed by Sharon Brewer. Rick? Morning.
Good morning, Rick Nightingale. You know, it was a really dirty shame what happened back in Connecticut. But from the first day after that, the politicians got a hold of it and hung on to it and shook it to whatever they could get out of it regarding about this assault weapon. The guy didn't have an assault weapon. I got a friend that's a marshal that goes all over the United States and the world and picks up people. And I was talking to him. He did it with handguns. Then you turn around and want to limit the amount of bullets in a clip. You can change clips in 1.5 seconds that somebody practices a little bit. So then you come along and you want to turn around and limit how many bullets can be in a clip. I agree that you have the right to do that to anybody that has a gun permit to go on the street and so forth. But anybody in their own house, you have no right to say anything to what we can do on our property. This is supposed to be a free land and so forth. Obviously, somebody like a woman and so forth, and if somebody was breaking in, is not a direct shot and so forth, and would probably, like that woman that kept on shooting, who knew what would happen. But for you to say that you can't have them for more than 7 bullets, that's a bunch of crock. Then you turn around, and what goes on is that they keep harping on it and harping on it, and look at the can of worms that you people as the parties have gotten onto, that now all these gun shows, they've sold out. How many millions of bullets now are on the that are sitting in people's closets? I went and bought some. How many guns have they sold that this wouldn't have happened? If Feinstein would have kept their mouth shut and gone there, you wouldn't have this problem. But now look at what's going on. You open the can of worms.
Thank you, Mr. Nightingale. Okay, Quasi, followed by Ms. Brewer.
Thank you. My name is Quasi Nkrumah. I am a budget advocate for the neighborhood councils here in the city of Los Angeles. And I simply wanted to alert community people who may be watching this session that today the mayor's office releases what he calls his budget challenge, which is a survey which is available for city residents to respond to proposals and potential proposals that the mayor will be submitting to the city council on this year's budget for the city. And this is where the rubber meets the road for us who live in the city, who are voters and taxpayers and community residents. And we want to urge as many people in our city to respond to the mayor's budget challenge. We want you to take up that challenge and let your voices be heard about what you think about the mayor's options that he's proposing. We also think that people need to take advantage of every other venue that is open to them to speak out on these budgetary issues. Our city, as every other governmental agency, is in a fiscal crisis. This means that the essential and secondary services of our city are feeling the squeeze more and more year by year. We think that our community needs to be very active in voicing its concerns about these services, what needs to be maintained, what is priority for yourself and for your community. The survey will be available on the mayor's blog and on his web page at lacity.org. It will also be available at empowerla.org, which is the web page for the Neighborhood Council agency, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. We will probably be issuing more notices to the public because we want more than 5,000.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Brewer?
Hi, Sharon Brewer. Welcome back to Van Nuys City Hall. I wanted to make a comment about public comment. If you really want to hear from your constituents, move public comment to the beginning of your agenda. By putting it so far at the end, you really don't want to hear them. Another problem is last Wednesday and Friday, there was no transmission from Channel 35. When I tried to contact Time Warner, I was told it was my box. I ended up talking to Colorado twice, Mexico City, and Texas. I didn't end up talking to anybody in the valley that could go and find out what the problem was. It wasn't my box. Channel 35 wasn't transmitting, and there needs to be a way that they go and they check. I ended up getting a new box and was able to watch it on Sunday, but somebody needs to be monitoring Channel 35 transmissions for the public. Another problem is with the Islamic Center of Reseda. There's still parking problems with going into their center on Fridays. You have cars blocking the traffic, making illegal left turns, and it's a main safety issue. I've monitored this for months, and it continues to happen. They allow cars to park on the sidewalk. You're going to have an accident, and it's going to be a major one, and people are going to get hurt. Somebody needs to contact the Islamic Center of Reseda and get the people that have been hired to control the traffic to do their job and not stop the traffic in the middle of the street. Thank you.
Okay, and by the way, Mrs. Brewer, the public comment is on the agenda to be the last item, but every opportunity that I get, like today, we started off with public comment. We just did it again, and I'll be ending it, but I try to break it up whenever it's possible. Okay, Bill, Mr. Rosendahl, you wanted to?
If we can make comments or announcements, I'd love to do that.
We'll get there.
Yeah, sure. Other than that, I'm fine.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
And it's good to see you walking around. Yeah, that's really good news. Okay, let's move to item 14. Item 14 was held by Cards John Walsh. Item 14, Mr. John Walsh. Mr. Walsh passes. No speakers in the queue. Madam Clerk, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Let's go to item 15, called special by Cards John Walsh and Sharon Brewer.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. For identifications purposes only, progressives for Zine for controller. I just want the people to watch. See, there's a problem with the reception. You're not getting the channel. Did they give a damn? No. She walks up. She says she can't get channel 35. So
John, on the item.
Yeah, well, I'm talking to these people out here,
Yeah,
not
but
you.
on the item, John.
Those 70,000. Okay, this has to do with hit and run. We have an epidemic of hit and run. You're making this is another reward. I've been asking now for 4 years for a rundown. How many rewards have you offered? How much have you paid out? They don't give a damn. They offer these rewards. We have no idea whether anyone accepts them. How many people have been convicted from people who gave rewards, who given rewards? We don't know. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Ms. Brewer.
I'm kind of upset that my Councilman Zine, is not here. I'm speaking on the reward is all right. What the problem is this happened because somebody crossed the street where it says you can't cross. There are universal signal or signs there with the pedestrian says no cross. They're on both sides of the street. And they're on both sides of Reseda, and they're on both sides of Bessemer and Topham. I went there to see the signs that are there today at like 9:15. While I'm sitting in the parking lot, here a person, at least he was with the light, was crossing illegally. We have to start looking at the causes of these things. Should the people have hit him have stopped? Yes. The problem is, did they have the light? But I think you need to start looking at the possible causes by the people that unfortunately, lose on going and making the public aware that this happened because you ended up crossing illegally. And maybe they need bigger signs. They need to say crosswalk, and point, but you can't cross there. So again, I'm sorry for the loss, but you need to start actually reporting whether or not what their actions were illegal and caused the consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Labange.
Speakers and others' information. This is done at the request of the Los Angeles Police Department. This is a crime. It is a hit and run, and it's not done without thought by the Los Angeles Police Department. So I want to we get those recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Buscaino.
Yes.
Point of clarification. Thank you, Mr. President. In response to the speakers, we have asked LAPD to report back to Public Safety Committee on a comprehensive strategy on what to do to prevent hit and runs. We unfortunately have the distinction of the city of Los Angeles being the hit and run capital of the country, and we want to change that, and we owe it to the victims of these hit and run crimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. City Attorney.
And for further clarification, regardless of whether the victim was jaywalking, the crime is leaving the scene of an accident without attending to the victim.
Okay, let's vote on this. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
All right. That brings us to item 16, called special by Sean Murphy and Candido Morez.
Yeah, item 16. It's about the city hall. This item is about City Hall East, the farmers market. I like the farmers markets. It's a good thing. They should keep it on.
Thank you, Sean. Candido.
Thank you, Mr. President. Candido Maris, and with me is Jeff Cooney, actor, and Mr. John Camara, community activist. Again, item 16 has to deal with farmers market. We have one here in Van Nuys. It needs to be revised. Kaiser, all the Kaisers have one on I believe it's a Thursday. It does outstanding. I love the one down in at City Hall. The thing is that bothers me is at the end it says to reimburse the city for cleaning services provided. This is a business, Mr. President, and those vendors are making good money. I don't see why we can't charge a little extra, because in the end, it's usually the city that ends up on the short end of that stick. So I hope that we get a little more than just reimbursement for cleanup costs. There's money involved there, good money. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay, let's vote on this item. Let's open the roll, Madam Clerk. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, now we'll go to item 17, called special by John Walsh, and I think it's Eric Previn. Okay, Mr. Walsh. Well, in fact, you're there, Mr. Previn.
Very good. Good morning, City Council. My name is Eric Previn, and I am a Studio City resident. And Mayor Garcetti, Mr. Garcetti, greetings. I'm here in connection with the Aaron Pack appointment to the Ethics Commission that took place in December by Mr.
Mr. President, he's not talking about item 17.
LexisNexis is a search. I'm trying to get there. LexisNexis is the item before us. It's Mr. Krikorian has suggested that we re-up a contract which will provide search mechanisms for our various city government employees and such, and we do support that. The question is are they working properly now, and has this body been engaged in the appropriate kind of searching? Because Ms. Pack, and I do think
that
this
has
is relevant.
Nothing to do with this item.
No, this is Lexis.
You should have spoke to that during general public comment. So you speak to the item. No public comment. Well, give me your card. I'll take it because I have two more speakers in general public comment. So with that said, Mr. Walsh, fill out a card if you want to speak. I've got two more. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Okay, this is not a large contract. It's $318,000. Access to public records. What disturbs us about public records is that you're destroying them. This came through earlier this week, destroying public records. This is 2013. There's no reason to destroy public records. On something this size, you can put 100 years worth of public records.
Mr. President,
that's what Lexis
this is not about this.
Investigating the issue of whether or not you can, on the issue of public records, And incidentally, isn't Herb Wesson running this meeting?
John, just go ahead.
I'm talking about LexisNexis and how they're going to spend the $318,000, and I think they should spend it concerning public records on a plan so that we do not have public records destroyed. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Okay, let's prepare to vote on that item. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, now on...
Excuse me, Mr. President.
Yes.
There's a request for item 17 to go forthwith.
Without objection. Okay, I have Helen Murphy. I think it's Chris Olenkamp. Michael Carrion, which means he could be at City Hall. I don't see him here. He's here? Oh, there you are. Okay, I see you. So, Michael, you're third. Yes, Miss Murphy.
Good morning. I was unable to go downtown Wednesday when they were talking about the community care ordinance. I'm in favor of the community care ordinance. It won't hurt the elderly, disabled, or veterans groups. It will help to get rid of the houses renting to like 20 to 30 people that live in squalid conditions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chris Olenkamp, followed by Michael Carrion, followed by Eric Pribben.
I'm Chris Olenkamp. I'm Conservation Chairman of the San Fernando Valley Audubon Society, and I want to speak briefly on the Army Corps of Engineers Vegetative Management Project in the Sepulveda Basin. And I realize there is a motion before the Ad Hoc River Committee due to Jan Perry's and Tom LaBonge's motion, and I appreciate that. However, I want to caution you that it's not just the Sepulveda Basin that's at risk here, it's the entire Los Angeles River. The Army Corps of Engineers is working on a river restoration study that they're getting millions of dollars for right now, and I'm here to caution you that they are not trustworthy. There are several things in their plan that they did that were, well, several things in their plan they did not do, and several things that they did wrong. Their plan said that they were only going to remove non-native invasive weeds, when in fact they removed everything. All of the vegetation is now gone. Their plan said that they would only remove non-native trees. They removed more than 150 native trees. Their plan said that they would not impact the federally endangered least Bell's vireo. They removed at least 2 acres of known recognized habitat of the vireo. Their plan said that they would not impact the soil. They dug up and plowed under acres of that soil. Their plan said that they would not impact the wildlife pond, when in fact they cut off the water and filled up that pond with debris, including entire trees by their roots, so that pond no longer exists. Their plan had no mention of impacting the Los Angeles River, when in fact they scraped all of the vegetation from the Los Angeles River. So I caution you, when all of your dealings with the Corps of Engineers, to be careful, because they are not competent to deal with restoration in the Los Angeles River. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Michael Carrion, followed by Eric Previn. Michael? Good to see you.
Good to see you. I had a few questions. How does somebody sit in your chair yet does not know what he's doing? I'm not speaking of you. I'm speaking of last Friday. Mr. Reyes was there. You have to pick these people a little bit more better. The Hitler deal. That was when Mr. LaBonge wasn't paying attention to what was going on. We're speaking to people, and they don't listen. And then they tail in on the tail end of it saying you can't speak on that subject. We're not even on the subject. Mr. Reyes interrupted 4 people, didn't know whether he was coming or going, and this is the way you run your city? What qualifications does someone have to sit in your chair, Mr. Wesson? Because lately, the people who've been sitting there, all they need is a kindergarten graduation slip. I thought they would at least have the basics down. You get to speak on so many subjects, public comments is separate. No, Mr. Reyes wants to interrupt people and start discussions, but he doesn't want to answer to them. My question is, what qualifications do people need to sit in that chair? Because they're not doing the job that you do. Maybe you're spoiling us. Okay? But I'm not going to sit here and tolerate incompetence in that chair. All we ask for is for what you guys demand, is respect. Listen to us when we're up here speaking the way you demand that we listen to you when you're up there speaking. Instead, we get people carrying on conversations, and then they get upset because they don't know what they're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Mr. Priven?
Yes, it is Eric Previn from Studio City. And the subject that I had tried to raise earlier in connection with the LexisNexis search item does have to do with the Ethics Commission and Mr. Wesson's appointment of Erin Pack in the later part of 2012. Ms. Pack is a nice person. She runs a healthcare foundation. She's also a prodigious fundraiser. And it has come out recently, and I think Mr. Garcetti will be addressing it at some point, that she gave $1,300 to Mr. Garcetti, who also approved that appointment, along with all of you. And I raised it with you and your deputies. Some of the deputies were not aware that she'd been approved so quickly by Mr. Wesson's maneuver back in December, but nonetheless she has. And the search obviously was not particularly thorough. Now, to be fair, the only people who would have known about the donation in October of $1,300 to Mr. Garcetti would have been Mr. Garcetti and Ms. Pack. But the question, I think, comes up, shouldn't have Ms. Pack have known as a potential ethics commissioner that she should have said, I'm going to give it back? I mean, I would like a refund. Or shouldn't Mr. Garcetti have politely said, thank you, no, we're going to do fine just without it? You know, this ethics commission is important, and this is not politics for me per se. This is about ethics. I mean, Wendy Gruhl will confirm. I harassed her mercilessly about the fact that for 10 or so months she didn't make an appointment to the ethics commission. Now, guys, we are clear about what the ethics commission does, right? I mean, Ms. Pack's husband of Archeon and Icor, a company that companies that this council knows well, were cited by this ethics commission. And at the time, the president of that ethics commission was Mr. Garcetti. Not this one, but his dad. Guys, we really need to make a better effort. I've tried with a bit of dignity to ask that Ms. Pack politely take a different kind of an appointment as a favor to Mr. Wesson for all the prodigious fundraising. There's other ways to do it. But to put her on the ethics commission makes a kind of a mockery of what we feel that the ethics commission should be about. And I would just urge all of these members of the city council, and also Mr. Garcetti and Ms. Gruhl, and the other candidates to consider.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, I believe that clears the desk.
Yes, Mr. President, I believe there was a request for reconsideration.
Really? Mr. Garcetti?
Thank you. If we could reconsider item number 1E from the 30th, it's Council File 12-1461. The property owner was unable to enter council chambers because it was so full that day. So if we could then continue it for 30 days and give that property owner the ability to come and come back.
Mr. City Attorney, what do we have? Can we just do that, or don't we have to take a vote or two?
You have to take a vote to reconsider it and then vote to continue it, or it could be continued without objection.
Okay, so...
But first you need to vote to reconsider it.
Let's, on reconsideration, let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And now we can just continue it, Mr. City Attorney?
Without objection.
Without objection, it's continued. Thank
Next
you.
till March 5th.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Madam Clerk, where are we now?
That takes council to motion. Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, they're posted and referred.
That clears the desk.
Okay, before I call on you, Mr. Rosendahl, for announcements, I want to indicate that today, February 1st, marks the official start of African American Heritage Month. The council and the mayor will have a ceremony next Friday, February 8th, at 10 a.m. in the council chambers. The mayor will present awards to LL Cool J, Danny Glover, LeVar Burton, and then after that there'll be a presentation outside. So everyone is invited to come next Friday, 10 a.m., downtown City Hall. Okay, Mr. Rosendahl, for an announcement.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Wesson, and thank you again for your leadership here in this council. There are 4 announcements I'd like to make rather quickly first. Yesterday, Dennis Zine and I went to LAX over that 245 that we all participated in, the $3.86 million we pulled back to analyze. The airport has just announced to us, to Dennis and to me, and hats off to Dennis, that they will bring it in-house, and they will do it in-house. They will work on another RFP that everybody will have access to, and they'll present it back. So we won on that just by the sheer action of wanting to have that open and transparency, and that's really good news. Also, the room was packed. There were 250 people, and we had a healthy discussion about what we do next and where we go next, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to find ways to work that out. That's announcement number 1 that I'm just so thrilled about, and the leadership of this council and how the airport cooperated. We got a win on that, folks. So give yourself a round of applause, colleagues, for moving with us on the 245. The second, as I mentioned, is the Metrolink. It's moving along. More later at another discussion. The third is the Venice homeless. I'm publicly announcing at this very moment that we are working on a strategy. We had an internal meeting, and in the internal meeting, I had the police department in the room. I had the Bureau of Street Sanitation. I had the Bureau of Street Services and Rec and Park. And we're working on a location where we will bag and tag the homeless' possessions, and it will be taken to a safe location. But this is to send a message to all homeless on Venice Beach. It is no longer an encampment opportunity. It's no longer a place that you can avoid the law. And that this process is now being made public by my very comments here and will be on all the social media. And then I know the Venice Neighborhood Council will discuss it and action will be taken. But I wanted to give the world the notice out there that we're dealing with the homeless issue in both Westchester and in Venice. I went to the count of homelessness the other night in Westchester, and Booker Pearson from the commission is fabulous, and so is Mike Arnold there. That's the third story. And I know we're going to adjourning motions, but Marion Folger's father died, a 91-year-old, and I'll be coming back to us with an adjourning motion for her father who passed away. And we want to wish Marion Folger the best of health through this very critical family period. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Weezar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to announce that this Saturday at 1 o'clock in Highland Park on York and 54th, we will unveil the city's first parklet, which is where we take a space on the street and create a park or whatever the local community wants downtown. We will unveil that one in about a week or so, and that one decided to put some exercise equipment. This is a new way of thinking about how we use our public space. We also have an unveiling this coming week on Huntington Drive in El Sereno, and the one we're unveiling in Highland Park this weekend at 1 o'clock near Avenue 54th in York. That was also the area where we unveiled last year the city's first bike corral. So there's some innovative land use and planning for our public spaces, and I encourage all of you to look at what our Department of Transportation is doing in these areas so that we can encourage more of these throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weezar. Mr. Labange.
I talked to Vera Jimenez, and it's going to be a great, beautiful weather weekend, so get out and go hiking in any of our national forests or in the state parks, Griffith Park, Baldwin Hills, anywhere. It's such a wonderful time of the year. Also be aware that Sunday is the big Super Bowl. We wish the 49ers well and the Ravens in that game, but also be a lot of people out driving in between. I like the better team, but the team with the best defense and kicking game will win. That's guaranteed on that. And Mr. President, thank you for your leadership yesterday. We broke ground on the wonderful new YMCA next to Charles S. Kim Elementary School at 3rd and Oxford. Appreciate your great help and leadership, as well as Mr. Garcetti on that, and also the Community Redevelopment Agency. And also, lastly, out at Van Nuys Sherman Oaks Park, with an anonymous donor, we have exercise equipment that has been donated, and I'm thankful in redistricting that this park is, I love parks, but it's a wonderful park, and to see the people in the park and exercising, it's a wonderful thing to do. So it was a good day yesterday as we kicked some things off and made a difference. And I also always want to thank the Bureau of Engineering, Gary Lee Morin, and his team, who do special efforts to help get these projects done. Thank you, Mr. Wesson.
No, thank you, Mr. Labange. Other announcements? Other announcements? Members, could we please rise? Everybody in the council chambers, rise for adjourning motions. Bill, did you have one? Okay, Mr. Labange.
Jimmy Ramirez is the husband to Robin Lee Ramirez. They were classmates at John Marshall High. Robin Lee is one of the assistant principals there. Recently passed away. Much loved individual, and it was shocking. He was a young man. They were sweethearts in high school, and they have a daughter as well. We keep the Ramirez family in our blessings and think of Jimmy Ramirez. May he rest in peace.
Other adjourning motions?
And Mr. President, I just wanted to ask this collectively, as you've done this before, that we send a message to the Brazilian consulate on the tragedy of the fire that took place earlier this week, and always be aware of fire as such a dangerous situation in nightclubs and the work that. And if you could put that, I'll second it if you would do that.
Okay, let's direct the proper department to do that. Okay, members, we are adjourned. Have a good weekend.